A global pandemic, the complete breakdown of all the systems, death and starvation everywhere. Nothing is functioning. But from it all is a great push of the reset button. Everything changes. New ways of looking at things open up, communication between people all across the world. It introduces new ideas, new forms of credit, new forms of money, make wealth more accessible to people that never had it before. We call it the rebirth, the Renaissance. It was the rise of the Western world, for better or worse, that created the world we live in today. Is that what's going to happen today if we successfully push the reset button again? Well, it certainly could. But, well, is it time for another Renaissance or not? I don't have any money from the Renaissance, so I'll just use this 2,000 lira note from the 1980s. It has Amerigo Vespucci's name on it because, well, one of the things that the Renaissance led to was the discovery of America, where I'm at today. New worlds opened up, ages of discovery and, well, conquest. For better or worse, the world we live in came from a great push of the reset button. And this thing called credit, money based on credit, comes from that time roughly. Now, we may have exhausted the limits of credit based money. That's the situation at hand. Certainly, when you have something like this, you have to wonder what money really is. I mean, the Bank of Italy doesn't issue money anymore. That's up to the European Central Bank. The Bank of Italy can borrow money. Actually, it gets paid to borrow money from the European Central Bank because interest rates are negative. But money itself might be broken. The time value of money isn't a thing in a deflationary world. And we know that there is a tremendous amount of deflation based on how this system that was set up about 500 years ago has worked its way through to where we are today. That was a time of great abundance that was fueled by new things. We live in a time of abundance, a time when very few things are limited by anything other than our imagination, or for that matter, the skills and the ambition of people. Now, when we look at the tables of statistics that come from the virus, or we hear stories of people starving everywhere, it's very tempting to think that the people of any nation are nothing but a bunch of mouths to feed or some kind of problem to solve. That has been the attitude towards a lot of governments. But ultimately, the value of any nation, the wealth of any nation, comes down to the skills and ambition of its people. That is what a technologically based world is defined by. Techne, skill, broadly defined. It's not about the gadgets like this little thing that is bringing me to you today. It's about what we do with them, how we make use of them, and how the world opens up, as it did when, well, Amerigo Vespucci first plotted out the world as they had come to know it. A whole new world was discovered. We're not going to discover a new world. We have to take care of the old one. But we are pushing the reset button. And is it going to be that hard reset? Is it going to create the Renaissance, the rebirth? I'd like to think so. A key feature of it came from Italy back then, the oldest republic, longest lived republic in the world, La Serenissima, Venice, Venetia. It was absolutely critical to making the world as we know it. And it may have run its course. It's been a good run. It got us through the Industrial Revolution. It got us through a whole lot of different things. But we are under tremendous deflationary pressure right now. I mean, the tremendous expansion of credit all around the world has created a lot of excess capacity. The urbanization that accompanied all of this has lowered birth rates, and has created demographic issues. These are all deflationary. Technology itself is highly deflationary, and the more we have technology, the more things are going to get cheaper all the time. The expansion of money has to keep pace with the expansion of genuine wealth that is created and how it is distributed. But we do it through a system of debt. Now, money is supposed to be what? A store of value and a medium of exchange. But more and more, as we get through the processes of different industrial revolutions and the new world of technology, money is defined much more dynamically. I mean, what is the value of anything? We don't know until it is sold. You can claim whatever you want, but really it's when it is exchanged. What's the value of 2,000 lira? Nothing anymore, is it? At one time it was worth something, and suddenly it isn't. That's the world we live in. Tremendous deflationary pressure that cannot be met any longer, so it seems, by a debt-based definition of money. We need something new. And it gets us to the heart of how we work, how the technology will shape our lives. Now, technology is a multi-edged sword. It improves our lives, but it also takes away jobs. We have to find new ways of working. And certainly, technology has opened up the world. The workers of the world can truly unite doing one thing with remote work all around the world. But we also have to take care of each other. We have to keep ourselves healthy. And healthcare systems, wow, they just don't function in the same marketplace as everything else. There are a lot of problems. It's going to take a lot to reset everything, to create some kind of new renaissance. But we can do it. We can plan it. We can get it together. And you might say, really? The ability to think this through and all that? Yes. Look at the Bretton Woods Agreement in 1944 that created the post-war world that we live in. Everybody sat down and thought it through and deliberately said, we are not going to have another world war. And we haven't. If that's not a miracle enough, why don't you go back to 1787 when the US Constitution was written? Sometimes everybody sitting down and thinking things through and getting together some kind of plan is extremely successful. And that's what it takes to push the reset button firmly. Now, the Renaissance as we knew it wasn't always perfect. There were a lot of wars. There was that age of empires that rose up. Yes. What can we do to make it better? What can we do to live in an age of abundance that will put that period to absolute shame? We are on the verge of it. There is no question. But we have some basic issues to take care of. One of them is that our whole concept of money may have been outstripped. And with this concept of money being, well, not what it used to be, our ideas about work have to change because work itself is changing. We know that. It comes down to the difference between wealth and money. Right now, money as we know it is not a good indicator of wealth. It's a good indicator of debt. And this is causing cycles that rips off back and forth. We go from one crisis to another, it seems. Things break so easily because they are fundamentally broken. That's the first sign. What are the solutions? Well, if we're going to find solutions, we're going to have to sit down and deliberately craft them. And it starts with a deep understanding of what has happened, which is what I've tried to outline here. And then an understanding of what basic principles are going to guide the new world. We know for a fact that economics really isn't just about money. That's what I'm trying to say more than anything else. Economics is about people. It's sociology with a way of keeping score. Do you want to emphasize the way of keeping score? Or Do you want to make people's lives better? To really increase wealth, not money. Increase happiness, increase prosperity, increase good feelings about everything. The confidence to move forward and make a new world. The skills to make it happen. That's what we're really talking about here. It's not about things that come and go. 2,000 lira? No. I've got lots of lovely lira, but they're not worth anything. So where do we go? How do we create that renaissance? Understanding what's happening now, understanding what our principles are, understanding what wealth really is, and devising a system that's not based on debt, but on equity. Money should be a store of wealth and a medium of exchange. Lately, it's become a store of debt. And everything is defined very, very dynamically. Going forward and creating a new renaissance is going to be a very deliberate action. We're going to have to think it through. The politics of the old days, the old ways of managing shortages, don't really apply. The world needs a view that can handle abundance, that can handle a money supply that is expanding to meet the needs of people without crushing debt. We need to keep our overhead low. We need to stay dynamic and flexible. But at the same time, we need to protect people and their ability to provide a living so that they can think in the longer term and they're not just every day scrambling around for more of these little things. They have the ability to plan, to develop their own skills, to realize what truly makes them happy, what truly makes them productive too. That's what it's all about. When we talk about economics, people like to talk about money. They like to talk about things like this. But what we need to be talking about are people. Skills, ambition, and the ability to realize their dreams. The money, it comes from that. And if it doesn't come from that, as it hasn't lately, we wind up with a problem. That should be obvious that we have a problem as we go from one crisis to another. The root of it is that money itself isn't really keeping score of what we need to have it keep score. Money and wealth are far, far too different. So let's start with that and decide what kind of world we want to create. Understanding how technology can benefit us and understanding the challenges that it creates. That's what I'm asking at this point. How do we create a renaissance? It's a big question, isn't it? It's happened once before, in times that were remarkably similar, actually. When we push that reset button, what kind of world are we going to get? It's really up to all of us. That's what we need to be concentrating on. Thank you.